Now, remember at the beginning I told you that we would have 4 guests, and I told you that the 4th guest was somebody who came from Wag and Company. And again, I'm not going to tell you what that means, because Diane Morton is going to be the person who will tell you. I was talking with her yesterday, and we've got a recording of that chat that we had. Diane got as my guest this afternoon Diane Morton, who is founding director of Wag and Company. Wag and Company, what's that all about, Diane?
Wag and Company Northeast Friendship Dogs. We visit the elderly in their own homes, which is a unique service to Wag and Company, or in care or hospices or hospitals or Alzheimer's or dementia establishments right the way across the Northeast, from the border with Yorkshire right up to the Scottish border and across to the border with Cumbria and everywhere in between.
And what happens exactly? What do you do?
Well, the people we visit miss friendship and the company of a dog. So they're dog lovers, they're people who in some cases have no family. As they've got older, their mobility has decreased, their ability to go out independently. In some cases, their ability to go out at all. Some people don't see anybody from one week to the next. And our volunteers are a friend with 2 legs and a friend with 4 legs. And they offer a chat and a cuddle and something to look forward to and somebody to chat to and talk to. And they go most weeks.
And the friend with 4 legs, that's the volunteer's own dog, is it?
Yes, yes. Yes, essentially, we're really just enabling lovely people with special dogs to visit their neighbours safely.
And do you have any sort of evidence that this is in any way helpful to the older person who's being visited?
Yes, oh gosh, lots actually. I mean, there is reams of evidence over decades, generations of the benefit of the company of a dog and the power of stroking a dog, influencing blood pressure and reducing blood pressure and calming people. But actually, the opposite is true. Loneliness is a killer disease. And I think they liken it to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, the effect of loneliness. And the older person specialist at Northumbria Healthcare Trust puts it beautifully, because what he says is loneliness and social isolation mean that it is almost impossible to stay well. So for people who are isolated and who miss their friends with 2 and with 4 legs, having somebody to look forward to seeing, having somebody to chat to, makes all the difference in the world.
And going out for a walk sometimes? Or?
In some cases. I mean, every situation is risk assessed. Some people aren't able to go out for a walk. Some people, our volunteers, would be too concerned about taking them out for a walk. But in a lot of cases, people go out. They go out for more than a walk, actually. They go out in the car for a coffee or lunch or to the garden centre. And many of these relationships become real, meaningful friendships because, after all, they've got something immediately in common, which is the dog.
And do you find it difficult to get volunteers then? Because not all people own dogs, do they?
No, of course, but you know, the Northeast region has got the highest proportion of dog-owning households in the UK by some margin. It's something like 26% across the UK as a whole and 36% for the Northeast region. So we are a region of dog lovers and dog owners. And we aren't finding it difficult at all to recruit, no.
Well, that's great news, because I don't know why. I would have suspected you might find difficulty in finding enough people, but no.
Well, there are so many dog lovers, and if you enable somebody to safely visit a neighbour, then broadly speaking, most people want to help.
Safely. That's what I was going to ask about that. So how do you ensure that, both dog and person are in fact proper people to be able to do
visit.
This?
Well, from the dog's point of view, we have some basic criteria, but most importantly, we have 15 professional assessors right across the region who volunteer for us, and they are all qualified to the highest behaviour and training standard. and they volunteer and assess the dogs. We have a standard that includes tests which simulate some of the noises that the dog might experience in a care home. The dog is exposed to a walking frame or walking sticks. Some dogs don't like metal. The assessment takes it's the same assessment for all dogs, and it takes about half an hour. And they don't all pass. So often there are some who are referred for further training, or in some cases, in a small number of cases, they fail completely.
Oh dear, right.
As for the human beings, they all have to have references. They are DBS checked at enhanced levels, so with the barred list for vulnerable adults. We meet them, we induct them. Our handlers, as they're assessed as handlers, so our assessors all meet them too. And there's quite a process to get through to become a visiting WAG team, dog and person. And at the end of it, we're pretty sure we know quite a lot about them, and we'll decide with them where they go and visit, the most suitable place for them to go and visit.
Good, thank you. We'll talk about that in the second part of our chat. But for the moment, could you say what piece of music you'd like us to play for you, please?
Yes, I would absolutely love you to play the Pearlfishers Duet. The Pearlfishers Duet is the first piece of opera that I loved. And I listened to the Pearlfishers opera at Darlington Civic Centre, of all places, and it whetted my appetite for opera, and since then we've listened to opera in some of the most beautiful places of the world. But my very special memory is Darlington Civic Centre with my husband and brother-in-law, and listening to this duet for the first time and experiencing the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And I've loved it ever since, and it's been part of every important moment in my life for the last 25 years.
Right, the Pearlfishers Duet. Right, the Pearlfishers Duet. That was a lovely piece of music. Thank you very much for that. I'm talking to Diane Morton, who's the founding director of WAG and Company, and we've been talking about how the operation works. You've told me about the general scientific benefit that's been done through research and so on, but what about what you personally know about the benefits to both the people you visit, of course, and the people who do the visiting?
Now, that's an interesting point, that it certainly benefits both parties. We have a number of people who themselves benefit from visiting other people because they're short of company themselves. So that's a double benefit for the volunteer and for the person that they visit. And of course, all volunteers benefit from meeting lovely people. The people that we visit in their own homes, in hospitals, in care, are great people with great stories to tell. Many of the people that we visit have lost their family as they've got older. So, and personally, I meet a number of them just through governance, through making sure that they have lots of opportunities to help us and get out and about a bit more if they want to. So, for instance, John Robson, we visit in his own home. He's 88, he lost his wife of 64 years, he lost his dog who was 20 years old, and he suddenly found himself looking at all four walls and with no company, nobody to come in and visit him. And he was referred to us because people felt that his memory was going. But actually, he was depressed and he was lonely, and he used to take himself off to Morrison's car park to look at people talking to people and wishing he was in amongst them. And he describes himself now as a real person with friends to look forward to taking him out, which is a lovely thing. Sheila, who I've been with today, is 90 years old. Sheila lost her husband, she lost her dog, couldn't have a dog anymore, and 2.5 years ago she met Diane and Eddie. And Diane and Eddie visit her every week, and she said within seconds Eddie became her best friend, and now camps out on her sofa eating chicken on his back. Lucky Eddie.
Yes. And do you have enough volunteers?
No, we don't, because even though we have almost 270 volunteers now and counting, we have many people waiting. Right across our region, we have large waiting lists for hospitals, hospices, but people in their own homes too. So we've always got lots of capacity for more volunteers. Our youngest volunteer is 18, our eldest volunteer is 88. And if you've got a lovely dog, it really is a special thing to do, to share him or her and give somebody else that same pleasure.
Right, I don't have a dog, I'm afraid. But if I did, what should I do? How should I get in touch with you?
Well, the first thing to do would be to go and look at our website, which is www.wagandcompany.co.uk. And all the information's there, really. Everything that you need to know about suitability, the process, the form you fill in online, the information about the charity, where you might get assessed, who the assessors are. It's really all there.
And the telephone number to ring is there?
There's a telephone number too, but we tend to do most things through online processes, but the telephone number's there too.
The reason I asked about the telephone is because a lot of our members don't have access to the internet, but if they get a grandchild to look on www.wagandcompany.co.uk, then they will find the telephone number and they can ring up and say.
They can. They would absolutely, unfortunately, not be able to volunteer unless they could use our online processes.
Oh.
And some people actually do have a son or a daughter who helps them to fill in a visit report. It's a very short, pre-populated return after each visit online. And we have lots of people who get some help from a friend or relative to do that. Although, as time has gone on, we found that those same people are increasing their computer skills so much that actually they're teaching their next generation how to do it themselves.
Great. Well, thank you very much for all that, Diane. I've been talking with Diane Morton, who's the founding director of WAG and Company. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you very much.
Right, that was me.